Hi guys, the iridiots are back. It's been a while, but we've got Mark Clower. How you doing, Mark?
Good, man. How y'all?
Yeah, not bad. We've got Ralph down the bottom there.
Hi there.
And of course, Dom McCauley. How you doing?
Quite well, thank you. Good seeing y'all.
Yeah, and you too, man. So today we've got a bit of a different show. We've got title tracks, our favourite title tracks, and this is hard. This was really hard. So, I mean, there's so many across the decades that, I mean, I'm sure all our lists are like massive. So choosing 10, which we're going to do, we're going to go 10 to 1, although myself, I'll explain how I've chosen my 10 in a minute, but I know we've all done something a little bit different. We're going to go around the houses first. Before we start, Mark, how are you going to do your top 10, mate?
Well, I could not really figure out how I should rank these or how I should list them, so I'm just going to let fate decide. I did this one time before on when Lee and I were on Striper Drive. I just printed them out and I put them in a shotgun shell box here. I'm going to put them random and let fate decide what order they come out in.
Shotgun box. Fucking hell.
Brilliant. So at least, I mean, we don't know what his picks are, but at least he won't know what order he's picking them out in as well, which is quite good for Mark as well. So that's cool. That's how you've chosen your 10. What about you, Ralph?
Well, very difficult. I've done my homework. So this is good enough for 20 shows, I guess. So I've just looked at a couple of those songs that I remember most from specific situations and have chosen 10 to 20, and we'll still decide on the go which one to choose. But there's of course.
Live choosing. I like that we're not live, but you know what I mean. He's put a bit of pressure on himself there. Bit of ad-libbing. It's good. I like that. There is a lot of title tracks that obviously make you think of your past, so that's a cool way of doing it. Mr. Don McCauley, what have you done?
Yeah, definitely for me as well. I mean, I wasn't even thinking along those lines, but I mean, a lot of these tracks, I can just pinpoint exactly where I was when I heard them. Yeah, I've had to. There's some choices. I had to limit myself to one decade. So I know I talk a lot of shit about this era, but my top 10 is going to be all 90s grunge and alternative rock. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's going to be the 70s.
Because,
that's even more surprising.
All Killer, started at 1980, so there's so much stuff of my youth, especially forming my my musical opinions for the next couple decades in the 70s. So I'm going to concentrate on that.
Wow, that has surprised me actually. I didn't think you would go for the 70s. So what I've done, usually I'm a little bit of a twat on here, but most times.
And we love you for it.
So normally I would try to do something, I'll be a bit different and choose like all new songs or something like that. So I thought, no, I'm gonna do it my favourite decade, and it always will be, even though I say, it's 80s, isn't it? It's 80s. So I've gone 80s. I could have gone newer. I was either going to go 80s or like recent. So I thought, no, I'll go 80s. I'll probably be a bit boring. Choose some classics for once. Talk about some classics that are ingrained in my brain. So, and how I've done the 10 is, I haven't looked at specific dates. I've looked at years. So my number 10 will be the oldest one, going through to the newest one. Apart from, of course, I had to do something, didn't I? So my number 1 is a new one. Sorry.
Okay.
But it is the new. I've left it as number 1 because it's the newest one.
There's always exceptions to the rule.
Yeah. So I mean, we did say just before we came on here, we were talking about honourable mentions, but what we might do, because there's so many, and this could be a great show to talk about. I love title tracks, so we'd probably save our honourable mentions for future shows, if that's all right with you guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, if the people want it, we've got plenty of ammunition to give him.
Oh, we
no
got
pun
loads.
intended with his box.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go Dom first, then I'm going to go Ralph. This is how I'm looking at my screen. Then Mark, then me. So Dom McCauley, what's your number? Are you ranked them, by the way? Have you ranked them?
I haven't. No, they are completely random order. I didn't do. I mean, this has been hard enough without having to put them in a 10 to
Right,
10 to whatever. Oh God, no. So the number one.
Number 10 or number 10? Number 10?
Yeah, the first one I have. We'll just say it. This is from 1979. This is Scorpions with Love Drive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a track, you know. As I said on All Killer, you know, we started at 80, so I mean, anything before that we haven't talked about at all. But yeah, Love Drive, it was really my first Scorpions album, I have to say. It was the first one with the classic lineup. This is the first one with you're gonna pronounce this for me, the second guitar player other than Rudolph.
Matthias.
Yeah.
Matthias Jabs.
Yeah, I always mispronounce it. I think when we were kids, we were calling him Matthias or something because we did. But yeah, you know, I was I can date myself. I was 13 when this came out. So that was a great moment to shape my musical history. So there you go, Scorpions Love Drive from 1979. It's their sixth album, and we all know it.
What a brilliant song! And I'm sad. I know that some Scorpions fans are split, aren't they? They go back further. I think for me, Love Drive is where it really started for me as well. So
yeah, and I've gone back and listened to the older albums now, but this was definitely my first exposure to Scorpions. But what a track!
Brilliant track, absolutely brilliant album cover as well. Absolutely superb.
Yep. Love it.
Right. Okay, Ralph, what you got, mate?
Well, as the German on the team, first of all, it's Matthias Japs, if you want to pronounce it really German.
Yes.
See, we thought we were only getting it wrong when we was younger. We're still getting it wrong.
Thank you, Ralph. Yes, but Matthias.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm also going to go for a German group, and it's a group that has various albums that I could have chosen. It's Accept.
Of course.
And I've chosen Balls to the Wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember very well when I first heard it because I hurt my head from the headbanging of it to it. It was in a rock club in my home in Franconia in Germany, and they played it fucking hard and loud, and I was just blown away when I first heard it. So, and ever since, you know, this is one of my absolute favorite tracks from Accept, and you know, even I like that album even more than most of the others. And as I said, there are more albums that have great title tracks from Accept, but I'm going to go for Balls to the Wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, another great album cover as well. I'm not sure if I prefer that to Love Drive.
They just don't make album covers like that anymore. Those weird, you know, fantastic imagery, but just off the wall. I miss those days.
I do as well. It's two German bands, right? Okay, Mark, where you got?
Okay. There were so many obvious choices. I tried to avoid, you know, songs that we all know and love, and some of them we've just talked about ad nauseum, and others you can turn on the radio any day of the week and hear these songs. So I decided to kind of avoid those. So I've got a pretty diverse mix here, everything from the 80s till pretty much modern day. And we're just gonna let fate decide what comes out first here.
Oh, guys,
Drop 100.
Have a drum roll or something.
Yeah.
All right, first of all, Deep Purple, The Battle Rages On.
With the T-shirt as well, yeah.
That's from 1993. This was the last album of the Gillan Blackmore alliance, so to speak. They had split up, and then they regrouped with Joe Lynn Turner for this album, and then they did 2 more albums after that. Battle Rages On was the last album with that lineup, and this is actually my favorite Purple song. It's ironic that the very last album they did, with that lineup, is my favorite. Wow. And for years, I used to think I was the only one that liked this song because I never heard anybody talking about it. But just lately, it's kind of taken on a life of its own because you got people covering it now. Ronnie Romero covered it. Dario Malo covered it. So finally, there's a lot of little interest in this song that I thought I was the only big fan of. But it's just full of hooks. Just one of the catchiest Deep Purple songs to my ear, anyway. Just a great riff. Like I said, the hooks just grab you instantly. And anyway, that's my
cool.
first pick.
Right. Thanks, mate. Thank you very much. So, like I said, I'm going 80s. The oldest album, or I don't know if he's actually the oldest because I got 2 from this same year. So I'm going for 1982. And this is a bit weird because of the way it's turned out. So, Scorpions. Yeah. Blackout from 1982. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I mean, I think this could be my favorite Scorpions album. I'm not really sure. This and Love Drive. Yeah.
I look at Ralph.
Yeah. This and Love Drive. I'm sort of torn between both of those that are my favorite Scorpions albums. But just that, it's a pretty simple riff, obviously, in it that kicks in. I think this is what they're at their peak as well. And obviously, Klaus Meine was having problems. He didn't even come on this album because of his vocal problems. And Don Dokken apparently was lined up to do the vocals on this album. And I think there's some backing vocals. I'm not sure where they are exactly, though. Listening to the album, I'm not sure, but he done backing vocals on some of this album. And for some reason, he's not actually saying what ones they are either. So it's a bit strange. I don't get it. But they changed their sound, obviously, I think, a little bit on the Love Drive album. They were sort of almost in between what they were and what they were going to be. And then once Blackout came out after Animal Magnetism, wasn't it? That was the one before. They almost like we're fully 80s now, didn't it? At that point, I think they went fully 80s. But what a great song! Just love Blackout. I've heard it a lot. I've got to say that. I've heard it a lot. So, it's not something I would go and grab and say, I'll put that on and get excited about it. But it's almost, this list is about things that I've lived with since I was a kid. So, Blackout, amazing stuff. That's my first choice.
But if that song, no matter how many times I've heard it, and same with Love or any of these, but no matter how many times I've heard it, Blackout, man, if that comes on, man, I am fucking yes. I never get tired. It's just fantastic.
And the way
energy,
and the way it leads into Can't Live Without You, like at the end with the glass breaking and the scream and just brilliant. Brilliant stuff. So
which is my favorite Scorpion song, Can't Live Without You.
Oh, is it? Oh, great. That's very cool. So 3 German bands, apart from Mark, but he might have had a German band in the box, but obviously it didn't work out like that. But okay, Dom, second choice, mate. What you got?
Hey, Ralph, how much did Lee Mangold, the lead singer of Scorpions, name?
Klaus Meine.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Klaus Meine. 2 syllables. Meine. Like a Meine bird.
Yeah, Meine.
I don't think I've heard anyone say it right apart from Ralph. Ever.
We can trust Ralph, man. We can trust him.
We can. Cheers, Ralph.
Okay. Number 2. This will be the first of a few bands where this is kind of the last time I was real interested in them. Like, the first couple albums were great, and then they got a bit more radio friendly and stuff after this. But so I'm going with Foreigner.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going with Head Games.
Oh, love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song from 1979. Yeah, the first 3 records for me were just fantastic. You know,
Mm,
Dirty White Boy is my favorite Foreigner song that comes off this album.
yeah.
You know, and then after that, it got quite slick, urgent with the saxophone, and yeah, it wasn't the same for me. And this is the last album with the original the 6-member band. When they went to 4, it was only 4 members. So this is still, you know, them as a full band. This is co-produced by Roy Thomas Baker as well, who I love. Roy Thomas Baker has been involved in a lot of great stuff, namely most of the classic Queen albums. But yeah, he adds his touch onto this as well. So this is from 1979, their 3rd album. You know, I always kind of regard this as kind of their lost out, not really a lost album, but it's not really spoken about as much as the first 2, and then 4 kind of eclipsed it as well. So I just kind of think this is kind of lost in the shuffle. But in my research, it sold 5 million records in the States alone. So there certainly wasn't any sort of bomb or the 3rd album slump or anything, just compared with what came before and compared what came after. You know, it's kind of lost in the shuffle, but I think it's a great record and another great record cover as well. Love that album cover so much.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Foreigner, when they were rocking, man, Foreigner rocking.
Oh yeah. Well, perhaps 5 million was looked at as not a disaster, but you know what I mean. And I mean that's what records sold back then. So obviously they don't sell any. You know, no one sells anything anymore as far as physical copies, do they? But
Yeah,
5 million was probably like, oh god, do you know what I mean? What we
I was
gonna do
really
next?
surprised to see it sold that much. I thought maybe 2 or something, but
Yeah,
5.
brilliant. Absolutely one of my favourite Foreigner songs. Brilliant choice. I'm surprised how much I love the 70s so far as well, Dom. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see.
Right, what you got then, Ralph?
We all love Jeff Scott Soto, I think.
Yeah.
And he's done so many things, but one of the albums that I like most that Jeff Scott Soto sang on was from Axel Rudy Pell, and it's Eternal Prisoner. And the track itself is such an epic, sort of like slow-moving, heavy riff, wonderfully sung epos, I would think. Or I would say, love that song. It has this slower middle part, then goes back in full force. I just love the song, and Jeff Scott Soto's voice on that album is just amazing. So that's my number 2.
What year is this, Ralph?
Oh,
Approximately.
92 or something.
Oh, right, okay. I need to go back and get some of those records because, and admittedly, I have later records of both those people, Scott Soto and Pell, but I don't think I've gone that far. I need to go back.
I think 2 or 3 albums that Jeff Scott Soto sang on, the earlier ones, and they're really just fantastic.
Cool.
Can I just say that I know how to pronounce that name correctly? Thank you very much. The first one probably ever, but
because it ain't German.
Yeah. I thought he was German. What is he then?
Axel Rudi Pell is from Bochum in Germany, in the old steel towns. Huh? So he's from.
Right. I thought you were talking about Jeff Scott Soto.
No. Fucking hell. No, I was talking about Axel Rudy Pell. Sorry.
And he had a band.
I was thinking, oh no, I fucked up again. I didn't actually fuck up for once.
And actually, he had a band before that was called Steeler, and they had 2 or 3 albums as well. And he was the lead guitarist of that band, and then he moved on as Axel Rudi Pell, which is a strange name for a heavy metal band, so to say. Yeah. But it's his solo stuff, and he carries on ever since. And I think he's had like 20 albums or so.
Yeah, an album a month he brings out, Axel Rudy Pell. No, very cool. Cheers. Thanks for that, Ralph. Thank you very much. Where you got them, Mark? Come on, get that box out.
Shaken, not stirred. All right, we got Petra, Jekyll and Hyde.
I like that song.
2003. Now, I've got to give a little backstory on this. I never you'd asked me a year ago if Petra would ever make any of my top list, I'd have said hell no. Even though I love a lot of Christian metal, I was never blown away by Petra. The early stuff that I was familiar with was more kind of generic arena rock kind of stuff, and nothing wrong with that, just not really my bag. But one of our live streams, I basically said that same thing, and somebody chimed in and said, you ought to hear the Jekyll and Hyde album, you might have a different opinion. So I listened to the title track and a few of the other songs on YouTube, and I was just absolutely blown away by how heavy this song is. I would have never thought Petra would have ever had anything this heavy. I mean, the riff is just, I mean, it's full blown metal. I mean, it's not like Foreigner trying to do metal. I mean, it's a real metal song. And the only thing it lacks, it comes from that time period where they were getting away from guitar solos. Doesn't have a cool guitar solo, but it's just infectious. And I sent it on to Lee and said, you got to hear this song. And he did a reaction to it. And I think he shares my opinion of it. But yeah, I never thought I'd put Petra on the top anything, but at least this one song changed my mind on that.
I mean, since then, even though I keep saying, don't I haven't got time to go back. I haven't got time to listen to albums from artists. And of course, that must be the most messaged band comments under there. Listen to this, listen to this, listen to this.
Really?
I mean, that band must have done about 400 albums. Honestly, it's ridiculous. It's like
they've been around
that.
since '72, so yeah, they've been around a long time.
And I'll give that a listen. I'm not going to give it a listen. I'm not. I can't. It's not enough time.
I did go back and listen to some of the earlier stuff. I found a few hidden gems that I did like that were a little more heavy than what I remembered. My sister had shows how far back I'm talking about. She had an 8-track of one of their, I don't know, late '70s albums maybe. And I remember some of that just being like, yeah, okay, because it wasn't Kiss. So I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it back then, but there's some good stuff there.
Thanks. Cheers, mate. Mark has just ruined my next pick, by the way.
Are you kidding?
So I'm not the one you've just picked, but Kiss. I'm going Kiss.
No.
So yeah, the same year, 1982, my favourite Kiss song, Creatures of the Night. Love this song, man. I obviously preferred, as a lot of people know, I preferred the non-makeup years of Kiss, but this could have probably fitted in to that sort of feel of the band. 10th studio album, you know this anyway. I've got two of the biggest, you lot know everything about Kiss, didn't you? 10th studio album. Obviously, there's still controversy in there over the album about Vinnie Vincent being on it and Ace Frehley being on it and who's on the cover, and oh my god, it's just ridiculous. Kiss just breed, didn't they? Controversy. Like I said, last album with the makeup, and then the makeup came back on. 98, I did a bit of research here. 98, the makeup came back on. This was actually what?
The reunion tour was '96.
Oh, I'm talking about albums. Obviously, you didn't hear me say that.
Yeah.
I said that. I said that.
Yeah, as far as an album, yeah, you're right.
So I can't get names right and I can't get years right. I apologise for that.
Anyway, give up.
Yeah, I might as well. Third single, by the way. A little bit of. Did you know that, Mark? This was the third single off of the album.
Not off the top of my head, I did not.
That's all. I'm only joking. The third single off the album. Yeah, I tried to look what was released as singles, and going back again. Yeah, Blackout wasn't a single. Did you know that? There you go. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Unless Wicked's wrong. But no. Third single it was. Creatures of the Night. Still my favourite Kiss song. And I think it will be my favourite Kiss song forever now, isn't it? They're not going to bring out anything else. Are they? Mind you, once they do their 10th reunion tour, they might do some songwriting. You never know. That's it. That's my second one. Kiss Preachers to the Night. Back down to Dom.
Okay. Here's another band that similar to Foreigner. The stuff this band that they're most well known for, I'm not a huge fan, but earlier in the days, they were a lot more rocking. This is Styx.
You know what? I was going to guess. I was going to guess, and I was thinking he's going to say Styx.
Were you?
Yes.
Yeah. Styx. This is Crystal Ball, which is just a humdinger of a tune. What a great song. This is their it's 1976. It's their sixth album, but it's their first with Tommy Shaw. So this was the beginning of their classic kind of lineup. And it's just fantastic. I mean, do you know the song, Lee?
No.
Because I really think this is kind of up your alley. This is like, it's got that epic-y feel. It's mid-tempo. It's got lots of twists and turns, and it's fantastic. Tommy does sing this one as well. So it's kind of become one of his signature songs. They still do it live. Just great. You know, it was all over the radio, all over American radio when I was a kid. I would have been about 76, 10 years old. So another formative track for me. For Styx, you know, it's kind of a shame their legacy is like Babe and Mr. Roboto and that music video parody of Too Much Time on My Hands. You know, I'm sure you've all seen that where they do it shot for shot. A couple American comedians do it. And that's going to be Styx legacy, really. It's, you know, it's too bad because these albums, Pieces of Eight and The Grand Illusion, and just amazing. What they would coin pomp rock. But man, they are rocking. So yeah, Styx, Crystal Ball, just amazing track.
I did say to the biggest Styx fan in the world, which is Delena, who comes on the show now and again, I did say to her that I would, from now on, I would cover Styx if they bring stuff out. So that's my promise to Delena.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, the last record was very good. So
yeah, I heard. Yeah. Very cool. Cheers, mate. Thanks for that. Ralph, what you got, mate? What's your first pick?
Yeah, well, Blue Collared Man will always be one of my favorites from Styx.
What a great song.
Absolutely. So exactly. That Hammond, wow.
Yeah. Lee's favorite instrument, the Hammond organ.
I've started to warm to some of that Hammond now.
Oh,
I have. There's been a few songs lately that are, you know, new bands that have brought it in there and in the background and that. Yeah, it's not so bad now.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
You can, yeah, you can, mate.
Just think about Sapphire, think about White Spirits. They put on great Hammond organ stuff. All right, my third choice is again has something to do with one of my favorite vocalists. It's Karsten Lizard Schulz. And we know him recently from singing on the Devoid album, Lonely Eye Movement, and he also sings on the Lazarus Dream albums. But I've chosen one from a group that is from my neck of the woods in Franconia in Germany when I was young, and I saw them live a couple of times. The band is called Evidence One. And they brought out 3 albums, 3 excellent albums. But the one that I've chosen is The Sky is the Limit. And there's also a video to that track on YouTube. It's from 2007. And yeah, it's, you know, that brings back a lot of memories. Saw them a couple of times live. Old schoolmates of mine were playing guitar, Karsten on vocals. Absolutely great. So if you haven't heard Evidence One, 3 albums, definitely a recommendation.
Yeah, he's got a great voice, that guy, as well. I really like his voice. He's across quite a few projects now, and he's really busy, but he's a great vocalist for sure. There is a theme here with Ralph, don't you think? He's got a theme. It's German at the moment, I would say.
He is German.
Great choice, mate. Thank you for that.
Well, most of mine are American, so you know.
Oh yeah, well there you go. I've got any British? I don't even know if I have. Okay, the 80s weren't the best for British music. Some of it was all right. Right, what you got then? Mark, what you got?
Well, I just happened to think about it. I don't know if this counts. I don't have a German band on my list, but I do have a Rammstein hat on. Does that count?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
It just dawned on me. Let's see here. This will be kind of obvious, I guess. Striper, No More Hell to Pay.
Oh, yeah.
Probably I think I ranked it my second favorite Striper song.
Mm.
Just can't get enough of this song.
Mm.
This was the album that really brought them back, as far as I'm concerned. After they reunited, they had Reborn and Murder by Pride that were not quite what we expected from classic Striper, but they came back full throttle with this album, and this song just still gives me chills. It came out in 2013, I think it was. So it's been out 10 years now. Hard to believe it's been that long. But just one of those, as Lee likes to say, medium pace songs, not real slow, not fast, but just heavy as hell for a band like Striper. One of the best Michael Sweet guitar solos I've ever heard. He's got some screams in this song that would make King Diamond jealous. Just amazing song. There's only one song I can rank slightly higher, and it wasn't a title track. So,
Mate, that's one brilliant song. Absolutely amazing. One of my favourite Striper songs as well, as you know. I just got this thing dawned on me. I was going to mention this at the beginning, actually. I don't know if any of you did this, but I did it by mistake. I actually started writing some title tracks down, and actually, believe it or not, messed up. I actually thought they were title tracks.
and they weren't.
That's because you almost, and I'll give you those examples. So I wrote them down because I thought it was quite funny. Because when I came down to pick my top 10, it dawned on me that they weren't actually title tracks. And that was Scorpions' Make It Real. I actually, for some reason, thought the album was Make It Real, not Animal Magnetism. I don't know why. But what a great title track. What a great title of the album that would have been, wouldn't it? Make It Real. That'd been excellent. The other one was Van Halen, Mean Street. For some reason, I thought it was the...
Somebody said, fair warning.
Yes, of course. Perhaps that was it. But I don't know because it was just weird. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that stupid bit of trivia there. But that's a brilliant choice though, Mark. Absolutely excellent. Love that song. Perhaps my favourite definitely one of my favourites of the new Striper period.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so my number 8. I'm going 8 to 1, like 10 to 1, even though it's not in order. Like I said, talks about this band a lot, but no one else seems to, for some reason. Y&T.
Yeah.
Amazing band. This came out in 1983. Mean Streak. What an amazing album. 5th album from Y&T. The opening track, one of their best songs. So rocking. Dave Meniketti is just one of the most underrated vocalists, songwriter, and guitarist in the world ever. And it was a single. There you go. If you haven't heard Mean Streak, you've got to hear it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Y&T, they never made it. They was always on the cusp of making it.
Yeah.
They should have really made it, in my opinion. But didn't happen.
They still have that hardcore fans though that still keep the band afloat and still go see them on tour. You know, they used to come to the UK like once a year, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they still have enough oomph to
Apparently they're one of them. Apparently they're one of them bands. I've read this, that there's complaints about the fans because they're one of the most loyal. So if bands play with them, they're not easy to play with because people are just Y&T. That's it. Brutal. Yeah. That's it. 1983 Y&T Mean Streak. There you go.
I always thought one thing that held them back was their name. I don't know. To me, just if they had stayed with Yesterday Today,
Yesterday Tomorrow, Yesterday Today, or Yesterday and Tomorrow. Yesterday Today.
Whichever it is. to me, that has a better ring than Y and T. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but that's one of the reasons, I hate to admit it, but one of the reasons I never really delved into them too much. Certain names just grab you: Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Y and T.
I always thought, although I love Y&T, the band, I always thought what let them down was they had every album they had like 5 or 6 mind-blowing songs, and then there would be like a few that were like, I just thought the strength of their albums just wasn't quite pushing them over to greatness, if you know what I mean. There you go. That's my opinion anyway.
Found out that recently they had one of the best live albums ever made, and they just reissued it with 2 more songs, and Mean Streak is actually one of those 2 songs that got added to the list. It's now 15 or 16 songs, 90 minutes. Wow, what an album. It's unbelievable.
Was it Open Fire? They brought Open Fire out as a live album. That was one of their live albums anyway.
It's just called Yesterday and Today Live.
Oh, right, okay.
I remember the cover. Yeah, I think it's him like this, and it's got a blue. Yeah, it's got a blue logo. Yeah,
and that just got reissued with 2 more songs.
Oh, very cool, amazing stuff. Brilliant. Okay,
it's so approachable, these guys.
Yeah,
amazing,
excellent, brilliant choice by me. Thanks for that. Dom, what you got, mate?
Okay.
Here's a band that I didn't think I would ever probably talk about on this channel. I mean, they are a rock band, but they're not kind of skewed on that hard rock metal. But this is such an anthem, such a classic, fantastic anthem. And Lee, you'll realize why I picked it, because it's me all over. It's the Rolling Stones.
It's gonna have rock and roll in it.
Only rock and roll, but I like it.
Yeah, it's you. That is you.
I mean, this one still just it's such an anthem, man. I could scream this down the street and I'd be happy. This is 1974, and it's their 12th album. It's their last with their guitar player, Mick Taylor, who a lot of people think they really lost a lot of their character when Mick left the band, because then Ron Wood came on, and as you know, Ron Wood's a passable rhythm player, but I wouldn't say he's a great soloist or anything. But Mick Taylor, I mean, some of his, he was on Can't You Hear Me Knocking and all those great stuff. Anyway, so this is the last one with Mick Taylor, kind of last of that lineup there. Now, I didn't know this before the show, but I went on Wikipedia, and apparently the basic rhythm track that's on the record is actually Ron Wood and Kenny Jones from The Faces. Ron Wood hadn't joined the band until hadn't joined the Stones until the next record, so this is kind of foundations laid. But it was during a jam session with Ron Wood, Kenny Jones, Mick Jagger, and David Bowie.
Oh,
and Bowie actually sings background vocals on this song. I had no idea. I didn't know that. So you learn something new every day. This album went to #1 in the US and #2 in the UK. But man, what a great rally cry.
And better than dancing in the street as well. Hey.
Sorry?
Better than dancing in the street as well, I would say, if they collaborated on that one.
Oh yeah, with Jackson. But yeah, just a bit of a notch above that. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it's weird with the Stones. I think I liked them when I was really young. And then I don't know. I obviously know a lot of their songs, but never listened to albums in their entirety. Perhaps there's some stuff on the albums that's probably better than the singles, to tell you the truth.
Always is, yeah.
It always is. Great one, mate. Thank you. I wasn't expecting the Stones, actually. And it does fit right in with the channel. This is rock and metal, isn't it?
It does, yeah. And it fits in with Dominic McCauley. Dominic, you can't kill my rock and roll.
That's exactly. Well, Ralph, what's next, mate? What German band's next?
It is a German band.
Good on you.
But I'll start again with a vocalist. It's David Rees. and I loved him on the Accept album, I have to say. Some say it's one of the weakest albums of Accept. I fully disagree. I think it's one of the best Accept albums as well. I like his solo stuff. It has killers and fillers, but last year he sung on the Iron Allies album, Blood In, Blood Out.
Good track,
And
yeah.
that was one of my top 5 albums of the year. And this collaboration with Herman Frank, who's also from my neck of the woods in Germany. Well, there's something with that part of Germany. That is just such a wonderful heavy metal symbiosis. And I now see that they're also touring a little bit, so that's really great to see. And this is just hammer album, and Blood In, Blood Out. I know you covered it, Lee, when I recommended it. It's just a neck breaker. It's just great song. So Iron Allies, Blood In, Blood Out is my number 4.
Very cool. Cheers, mate. Great song. Really heavy in that Accept groove in it, in that real groove that they've got as well. Brilliant choice, mate. Right. I'm really excited about the box. Get the box out. Cheers, Mark. Yeah, here we go.
All right, let's see what we got here. All right, continuing with the hell theme. Grim Reaper, Rock You to Hell from 1987. Third Grim Reaper album, by far my favorite Grim Reaper album. The first 2 albums were a lot darker. This album, I don't want to say it was overly commercial, but definitely had a little bit more of an 80s, vibe, and got away from that new album, darker metal kind of sound, a little more polished, a lot more catchy. That title track just so hooky. Steve Grimmett, God rest his soul, was a highly underrated singer.
Yeah.
Passed away last year or 2001.
I think it was last year. I think it was last year.
Hadn't been long. God love him. He performed all the way up to the end, even sitting in a wheelchair with one leg. Very sad story. Evidently, he never made a dime off of the album sales of Grim Reaper. He had to keep touring to make a living. After Nick Balcott left the band, Steve carried on for a while, released 2 other Grim Reaper albums because Steve Grimmett's Grim Reaper with different players. They weren't near as good as the original classic stuff, but he kept chugging along until he finally passed. But I love that album, that title track. Just first time I saw the video on MTV, I was just blown away with how good it was. And to this day, I still crank that one loud when I put it in.
Very cool. Some true metal there, mate. Some true metal. Thank you very much for that, mate. I've actually got a prop for the next one. Doesn't happen often for me, does it? Doesn't happen often. I might not even have to say anything. I might just show you this album. You ready?
Yeah.
Just
There's
look
a
at that.
shock.
Just look at that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Just a brilliant album. What a title track that is. I've spoken about this album before, and that I actually prefer it than. Well, I know they're sort of comers too, don't they? This and Holy Diver, but everyone regards Holy Diver as the best album. But I sort of like this one a bit better, I'm afraid, in my opinion, obviously.
Very
Very close, but the title track for me blows Holy Diver out of the window. The last in line is just epic. I mean, when he comes, the best EO songs are the ones where he's got a little bit at the beginning and a little quiet bit, and you know it's coming. You know it's coming, and then the riffs kick in, and he's just amazingly powerful. So 1984, that came out, second album, best singer in the world. Simple. And that one and the album before, obviously, some of the best guitar work that's ever been on a metal album, Vivian Campbell, in my opinion. There you go. That's it for number 4.
Think about that. Think about that stream of albums that Dio had. I mean, even going back to the Rainbow stuff.
No, I agree.
You had Heaven and Hell. You had Mob Rules. You had Holy Diver. You had Last in Line. I mean, that was just a incredible stream of albums right there.
Totally agree. You're right. Totally probably from I don't know, Rainbow Rising maybe, because I think he really found his feet on the with Rainbow. Then I think from that up until he's like Last in Line. That was just an amazing run.
Right.
Not the same band, but obviously, but a Dio run. It's just amazing stuff.
Yeah, that common denominator there.
Oh yeah. Right. That's my next one. What you got then, Tom?
Okay. Here's another band that was huge in America. I think the debut was one of the best-selling debut records of all time. This is from their second album, which I like. It's kind of like a Last in Line thing. Second album, which I might even prefer to the first. I think it's just as good. This is Boston.
Oh yeah.
And it's Don't Look Back. It's my favorite track of Boston. Boston, these first two albums were just so huge and influential, and I think the ego of Tom Schultz just ruined the band. It was his way or the highway, and he couldn't see eye to eye with any record labels, and it took 8 years between this and then Third Stage to come out, and that was like Amanda and stuff. It just wasn't the same. This is rocking, man. This is a great riff. Obviously the vocals of Brad Delp. I mean, one of the best AOR singers of all time, but yeah, I just love this record. 78, second album, sold 1 million copies in the first week, which was quite a feat at the time. Ended up selling 7 million. So again, this is kind of regarded as a almost sophomore slump, because you could never compare it to what happened with the first album, but still 7 million isn't too bad. The song went to number 4 on the Hot 100 on Billboard, and the album went to number 1, obviously. So just a band that, the zeitgeist moment of those 2 years and those 2 albums, fantastic stuff. And then just kind of lost it after that, for me at least.
My favorite Boston album as well, that one.
Excellent.
Love it, man. And it was actually on before I started going to the 80s, because I was just writing things down. That was on my list as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that song, man. The way that guitar when it comes in that chorus, it's got a certain sound and melodies that Boston have only got.
Oh yeah, you can tell it's them right away. It's that guitar sound and the production, and yeah,
brilliant. Absolutely superb. Love that song. I'm so glad you brought it up, actually. So brilliant.
Great.
Cheers, mate. What you got then, Ralph?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the track of just German bands. I'm going back to the year 1987, and there were a couple of albums in that year. One was, I think it was Warriors Fighting the World. But the other one in that same vein that really blew me away, and I love the whole album and the title track as well, is from Malice, License to Kill. One of the most rated metal albums, I think. And it has these bombastic, great sound, sharp guitars, very crunchy, and great vocals. So License to Kill, Malice. 1987. It's a bombastic album.
You like that, Ralph? Well, you would as well, Mark. You heard of Malice, have you?
Yeah.
I've heard of Malice as well, but I don't think I've ever heard them.
Yeah, great band. Good choice.
They didn't do a lot of stuff afterwards. They brought out an album a couple of years ago, but it would have been one for the shows of for first and best albums.
Yeah.
Much more.
Yeah, it's a great song. Love that band. Another band that was sort of like maybe a bit too late then, wasn't it? 87 is starting to maybe a bit too heavy for that time period, because everything was going a little bit soft at that point, wasn't it? So good one, mate. What you got there, Mark? We don't know actually, do you?
Yeah, we'll see here in a second. Reverend Play God from 1991. This was David Wayne from Metal Church,
Ah,
Oh yeah.
his spin-off band. He was the Reverend of the Metal Church, so became Reverend.
Yeah.
Also, his father was a minister, so I guess there was a double meaning there. But this is the second CD I ever bought. I had 500 cassettes before I finally gave up and transitioned to CD. I had this CD before I even had a CD player. I first heard this song. I've talked about it numerous times. We used to have we still got the station, but there's a college radio station that when I was a teenager, I had a metal show once a week. And I think it's Tuesday nights from 9 o'clock to midnight. And religiously, after I got my homework done or whatever I had to do, I was sitting in the easy chair with headphones on, listening from 9 o'clock to midnight. And that show exposed me to a lot of music that I love today that I would have never heard any other way, because they played everything from Bon Jovi to Cannibal Corpse you would hear on this metal show. And
Cool.
first time I heard this song, I was like, who the hell is that? And it was out of print at the time when I first heard it. And I tried to get one of the local radio store or record stores to order me a cassette, and it was out of print, blah, blah, blah. A couple of years later, I found this used copy. And like I said, I didn't even have a CD player yet. The very first CD player or first CD I bought was Black Sabbath, Cross Purposes Live, because it only came as a CD
And video
pack. They didn't have it on cassette. So I bought it. And then shortly after that, I bought this CD. And I think that Christmas, my parents finally gave me a little Discman. And so I wore those two CDs out before I even bought a third one. But this song is just absolutely spine tingling. It starts out real slow with an acoustic, almost fade to black type intro. And when it kicks in, it's just so heavy. Not overly, not fast or anything, but just so heavy. And again, thanks to Lee, he did a reaction when I asked him to do it. And I think he liked it. He said he did anyway.
I wouldn't have uploaded it, mate, if I didn't like it. I mean, rest in peace again to David Wayne and the troubles they've gone through and all. And
yeah, they've lost a lot of ex-members over the last bit here.
Yeah, a great choice, mate. Absolutely brilliant choice. I've got another prop.
I'm ready for it.
This ain't the actual album, but it is. Might have seen this on the wall behind me.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Power Slave.
Yeah. It's got a bit of a dent in this, actually. Got a bit of a dent there.
You even took it off the wall to present. That's impressive.
Well, no, I took it off the wall because someone gifted me a Black Sabbath mirror, which is there.
Oh,
which you can't really see, but
no.
But this was on the wall before. It's got a bit of a dent in there because my ex-wife threw it when I left her and I went back to get my stuff. It was on the floor.
Fucking hell.
You threw it at you?
You don't do that with Power Slave, right?
I went back to grab some of my stuff, and that, along with CDs, records, and all sorts of stuff, was on the floor, smashed.
Love and marriage.
But it survived. It survived. Anyway, this was. I mean, I thought this was a big deal when I got this at the time. It's cool because it is actually the proper disc in there. It's one of these. You can buy these anywhere now, but I think it looks quite cool. But the album itself, 1984, came out the same year as Last in Line, and I think up until recently, and it's been my favourite Iron Maiden album ever, Power Slave. The title track's obviously brilliant. And I think part of that reason, I think Dom has made me like Peace of Mind more. So Dom's favourite Iron Maiden album, correct me if I'm wrong, is Peace of Mind.
Correct.
And they've always been, Power Slave and Peace of Mind have always been my favourites, you know, but Power Slave, I don't know why. I think it's just because I murdered it like as a kid. I was like, I want to play. And it was just looking at the album cover, and I was like, you know,
Yeah, it's the whole package, isn't it? Yeah.
it was just amazing, you know. And if you actually go down and then look back at those two albums, it's still amazing, by the way. And it's easily the second best album, if not tied. I don't know, but I think with Peace of Mind, it's just from beginning to end, it's just amazing. But I started veering off a little bit. This is still amazing. Power Slave's an amazing.
Yeah.
Power Slave is an amazing track in it. I mean, it's just that Egyptian, obviously, that Egyptian feel of the whole thing.
Oh, the
coming
inner
through.
sleeve and everything, and yeah.
Oh, just brilliant. 7 minutes and 12 seconds long. I was going to say the Power Slave is. It just doesn't. It's not like now, is it? Iron Maiden just repeat themselves for like 10 minutes. And yeah, you know, it's just too much. But that's galloping metal at its best from 1984. Iron Maiden, Power Slave. There you go. That's we're halfway through, I think. So we're down to Dom again. What do you got, mate?
And I love the production on those albums as
Oh,
well. You know,
Yeah.
that's another thing about modern Maiden that I just don't like. They don't have any sort of feel to them. It's almost like glorified demos to me or something. I don't know. It's just something they recorded it in a barn, or I don't know. It just doesn't have that kind of.
They haven't got the dynamics anymore, and that comes with a lot of music now. Like almost like, you know, they lose. It's almost like film now. In some film, you know, when you hear the quiet parts and loud parts of a film, it's really dynamic in it when you want it to be. It's like some Iron Maiden stuff now. It's just the same all the way through, and it's almost sad to say. I'm going to talk about another band later. No, I'll come on to that later because I don't want to ruin it. But Iron Maiden, Power Slave,
Yes.
at their peak, I think. You know, Peace of Mind, Power Slave at their peak. Then straight after that, they wore themselves out by going on tour for 2 years. That was the problem, I think. There you go.